All right. With the 2 gigs of memory, that is a good starting point because remember, when the original Raspberry Pi came out, and this is a Raspberry Pi Zero, the original ones, and it has headers. This only came with a single core and 512 megabytes of memory. Now, you could do some simple applications for that, okay? As you guys can see, I have this here where I could do breadboard and try to figure out how to get like Python to work and do LEDs, which is great, okay? But I want to have something I can, again, get it up and running, drop it in my bag, get it working with my phone. If this experiment works the way I hope it does, I'm going to upgrade this. Okay. Right now, you can get the 2 gig of memory, 8 gigs of eMMC, Banana Pi M40 for roughly around $38. That's 38 US dollars. The 4 gig, 32 gigs of eMMC goes roughly for 54 bucks. Now, think about that. This, with the header, you can get these for about 10 to 15 bucks at Micro Center. Okay? All right. You could get the upgraded, Raspberry Pi Zero 2, and I do have one in these argon pods, okay, which gives you up to a meg and 4 CPUs. Or if you really want to go out, you could use, an orange Pi, okay. There are many models, but price-wise, Banana Pi has the best option. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with this and we're going to get it up and running, okay. And when I get this done, again, it's going to be headless. All right. Now, one more thing before we start deep diving in this. What's very nice about this particular, Banana Pi M40 is the whole fact is we're using USB-C. We're no longer confined. Let's get this up close. We're no longer confined to the micro USBs, okay? So we can use that. Now, the only benefit, and I don't have one readily able to grab, is I would have over here, okay, a board that I would put it on. Sure. Hold on, I do. 1 second. And yeah, here it is. Wave share. Okay, and this is a Raspberry Pi Zero, and I bought this off of Amazon. This is a wave share adapter board so that I could use this, okay, like a Raspberry Pi 3. But, okay, USB-C is a lot better. I've had a lot of issues on the Raspberry Pi 3s and with the Zeros where after a while these your plugs into the micro, they give out and they break. That was always my biggest complaint about USB-C micro connectors. All right, with that, let's get started on installing Ngnix and PHP on the Banana Pi Zero. All right. With the 2 gigs of memory, that is a good starting point because remember, when the original Raspberry Pi came out, and this is a Raspberry Pi Zero, the original ones, and it has headers. This only came with a single core and 512 megabytes of memory. Now, you could do some simple applications for that, okay? As you guys can see, I have this here where I could do breadboard and try to figure out how to get like Python to work and do LEDs, which is great, okay? But I want to have something I can, again, get it up and running, drop it in my bag, get it working with my phone. If this experiment works the way I hope it does, I'm going to upgrade this. Okay. Right now, you can get the 2 gig of memory, 8 gigs of eMMC, Banana Pi M40 for roughly around $38. That's 38 US dollars. The 4 gig, 32 gigs of eMMC goes roughly for 54 bucks. Now, think about that. This, with the header, you can get these for about 10 to 15 bucks at Micro Center. Okay? All right. You could get the upgraded, Raspberry Pi Zero 2, and I do have one in these Argon pods, okay, which gives you up to a meg and 4 CPUs. Or if you really want to go out, you could use, an Orange Pi, okay. There are many models, but price-wise, Banana Pi has the best option. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with this and we're going to get it up and running. Okay. And when I get this done, again, it's going to be headless. All right. Now, one more thing before we start deep diving in this. What's very nice about this particular, Banana Pi M40 is the whole fact is we're using USB-C. We're no longer confined. Let's get this up close. We're no longer confined to the micro USBs, okay? So we can use that. Now, the only benefit, and I don't have one rarely able to grab, is I would have over here, okay, a board that I would put it on. Sure. Hold on, I do. 1 second. And yeah, here it is. WaveShare. Okay, and this is a Raspberry Pi Zero, and I bought this off of Amazon. This is a WaveShare adapter board so that I could use this, okay, like a Raspberry Pi 3. But, okay, USB-C is a lot better. I've had a lot of issues on the Raspberry Pi 3s and with the Zeros where after a while these your plugs into the micro, they give out and they break. That was always my biggest complaint about USB-C micro connectors. All right, with that, let's get started on installing Ngnix and PHP on the Banana Pi Zero. Okay, all right. As you can see, I have Mobile X term already up, and just to confirm that I do have the 2 gig model, I went ahead and did a cat on proc mem info. For those of you who've never worked with Linux, there's a couple ways you can see how much memory you have. You could do free, okay, and I did the flags of -L, -M so that I could list it and show the memory, okay. And we do have a small swap. We're not really worried about that, and we're not buffering a lot, and that's what's good about free, okay. But cat proc mem info is where you really get your information about memory. Now I'm going to type clear real quick, okay, and that way we can clear our screen. And now this to show you guys, this to show you guys our CPU. We're going to do cat proc cp info. All right, now in computers, when you're taking a look at the number, the first one's always going to be 0, okay. So as you can see, we have 4, okay, processors. And from what I remember, this is the Allwinner H618, 1618, okay, processor. And a couple of other things that's really cool about it, it does have dual Wi-Fi, so I can use it with 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. Okay, and again, it really does have a nice graphical interface. It has a ARM Mali G31, and trust me, I was able to run X on this on a Samsung 30-inch UHD monitor, and it worked great. The only time it didn't work great was when I was doing CLI. It was doing a bunch of flashing, but it did pretty good. Okay, and again, it comes in different varieties. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do clear. All right, and we're going to go ahead and just do fdisk. I can type, guys. I know I make a lot of mistakes when I do these videos, and we're going to do a -L, okay? And as you can see, the first device that we're showing is the SD card that I'm running it on, and I'm actually running it on a Micro Center, their white blue, okay, which is one of their newer SD cards. It's not the standard black ones. Okay, which is a 64 gig model, and we are running an image from Banana Pi themselves. I can tell that they based it more or less on Armbian because it has similar controls. Okay, and then right here, let's go ahead and highlight it. Here's our 8 gigs of eMMC storage. Now, what I could do, but I'm not going to do it, I could technically, okay, make that another Linux operating system, and I could, okay, put all my web stuff on there. So if I lost the OS, okay, off the SD card, because eMMC is a little bit more robust than an SD card, I could have it. But I'm not really going to care about that, because remember, this is a portable dev environment I want to carry with me. I travel, or used to travel. At lunchtime, I like to take out my USB-C monitor, plug up, and work on stuff. That's part of the reason I have a home lab. I'm always tinkering. Okay, so let's go ahead and type clear. Now, before we do anything with a Debian Ubuntu based OS, you always want to do your app update. Okay, and then with that, we're going to go ahead and start getting ready to install our OS. Okay, now I'm connected to my 5 gigahertz network. Okay, and look, there's 2 packages I could upgrade real quick. So let's just see what it wants me to upgrade. Okay, because if it's kernel stuff, I probably can't do it because, all right, Chromium, Google, okay, Google Chrome, which is always good to update. I do have Xface installed on this, and I do have XRDP set up so that I can remote into it. For right now, because we're going to be running Nginx on this, I have disabled light DM so that it does not start a graphical environment. I want it to be a server-based OS. Now, I could go out there and grab Debian CLI. Okay, and for those of you that like to use Armbian, you would grab like the Bookworm okay, CLI, the bare minimum, and you're good to go, okay? All right. So while that's finishing up, we're going to get our commands ready to do our install, okay? Because the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to install some packages. Now, one more note when we start doing this. I do not use Nano. Years and years ago when I first started, and I probably am repeating myself, when I was learning how to do editing, okay, I learned on Pico, which is the father to Nano. And I went to work for a security company, and they literally told me if I was going to make it as a Unix engineer, I need to learn Vim, okay, or VI. And I'll be honest with you, once I started learning it, I can go on any system today and I can do a lot, okay, because VI is pretty much everywhere. But we're going to make sure that we do have Vim on here. So, okay. All right, we're good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure I can grab packages. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do app install. I don't have to do update because I already did it, so we're already synced. And I'm going to do app install Vim. Okay. And I'm going to do Ansible because I have some Ansible playbooks, and I will do another video where I show you guys how I would do this a lot quicker using Ansible. But today we're going to do everything by hand. So Vim, Ansible, and we're going to do curl and wget. Now, these are packages, the Vim and the curl and the wget, you really do need those when you're doing any work on a system, okay? And they're already there, which is good to go. Ansible's not, so we're going to go ahead and install that. And then next thing we're going to do is we're going to install Ngnix, okay? Now, while it's installing, Nginx it's really unique. When I first saw the name, I did not realize how it was pronounced until I went and read up on Wikipedia how they explain it. Apache was the default web server, okay, for years, okay? Netscape was out there before, but Netscape was a commercial project. Apache was free and open source, and a lot of people really liked it, okay? And that kind of killed the whole Netscape model because, believe it or not, when I first got involved with the internet, it was about 1995, and I worked for a mom and pop's ISP. Yes, long time ago, before broadband and the telcos were running the place, the internet was run by a lot of mom and pop ISPs, and I worked for them actually doing support for customers. I was doing support for Mac OS and Windows NT because they were higher caliber OSs. We had too many people already doing the Windows. Not a lot of people used Macs at that time. I did. And where I worked at, we were a big NT shop. So we went ahead and, we did a lot of work with that. Okay. So enough of that. All right. We're almost done, and then we'll install Nginx. Now, Nginx, it's a newer web server. So if you don't know the difference, your web browser is a tool that connects to a web server. A web server has to be configured to run the pages that it hosts. By default, when you install Nginx, it only runs HTML, okay? If you want to run applications like WordPress, you have to install PHP, which is a scripting language that a lot of people use because it's fairly simple. I've wrote applications in it. Years ago, I wrote like my own little news app to share with friends. Kind of looked like Twitter, but all I would do is I go in, put a little couple lines, put a link, and it would sort, and it was a great tool. The other thing I did that was pretty cool was I actually created a movie database. And lastly, the one thing that I wrote for myself that was really cool was I actually used PHP to write reporting tools, because a lot of your mail systems like Google, okay, Hotmail, Yahoo, and all those, they actually present the pages that you read as HTML. So I learned how to take PHP and create a CLI, command line scripts that would generate emails and send them off so that I could get reports. Okay. All right. So we're kind of stuck here for, we moved up a little bit. Okay. So there we go. Cool. And we're going to type clear. And now we're going to do app install Ngnix. Okay. Nginx, again, it's a newer, well, not really that new, but compared to Apache, it's a newer kit on there. And there are other web server applications out there, but the two big players are Apache and Nginx. Nginx is favored by a lot of people because the syntax is kind of written in a C-ish like language. Okay, so if you've worked with C, it's really easy to go edit the config pages and have it up and running. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do system control able. Now you'll see a lot of people, they'll do system control able Nginx, system control start Nginx. You can save a lot of steps by doing system enable -- now Nginx. It's creating the links in systemd so that whenever you reboot, it comes up. Okay. And just to show you that it is up and running, we're going to do nmap of localhost. And there's our port 80. Notice that 443 is not here yet because we will install like, well, I really have to get this into DNS for Let's Encrypt working, but I could install and we'll, you know, up and running. We can turn on, 443, the secure HTML. Okay, it's the secure HTTP, but it's we'll have to create a self-signed cert, and believe it or not, a lot of browsers nowadays are blocking those as a security precaution. All right, so excuse me, we're good to go. Now, I have a notepad that's off screen, and in that notepad, I have my standard PHP programs that I need. So we're going to install PHP, curl. FMP is going to be critical because that's actually how Nginx and PHP are going to talk, because you have to have something to let it know how to call it. Okay, BC Math will do math. GD is a graphical. SOAP, it's a kind of like a library. Zip to compress. PHP to pull. MB strings, and I could go on, all these keep going on. But these are all going to be installed so that we can run WordPress. Now, WordPress is built on PHP, if you're wondering why I'm doing that. Okay? And if I wanted to run applications using Ruby, I would install Ruby there, and I would have an interpreter between Nginx and Ruby. The same with Python and Perl. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and install it. And make sure that when you're doing this that you are using Debian Bookworm or higher so that you can get the latest PHP. If not, you're going to be running PHP 7, and trust me, PHP, it's a beautiful scripting language, but PHP is so filled with vulnerabilities, you might as well put your server out there on a public IP with Telnet and say, come get me. Okay? You're going to want to make sure that you constantly update and make sure that your PHP's up to date. And by the way, part of the reason I want to have this mobile lab, PHP, the syntax for the most part is the same, but it, like every modern language, okay, computer language, it changes, it grows, okay? And to say that I can script in PHP, yeah, sure. Have I done anything with PHP 8? No. The syntax may have changed. There might be a different way to identify the pages. It was that way in the early days, so another reason to have it. Okay, so we're getting that installed. All right, and like I said, this is very beautiful. Okay, and once it's done, just to validate that we have it, we're going to do a command, and then we're going to go change some parameters so that we can actually run our PHP a little bit more efficient. Okay, now see that link? It just put the what we need. Okay, and it's by default it looks for Apache, but we're not using Apache. That's why we need that PHP 8.2 FM service. Okay, so let's do this. Let's type clear, and we'll come down a little bit. We're going to type PHP-V for version, and we're running 8.2.26 as of this recording on February 16th, 2005. Okay, now we're going to go into Etsy, PHP, okay, FMP. Let's go here. All right, 8.2, okay, FMP, or yeah, FPM, sorry. And then we're going to look for PHP-FPM config, because that's what we need to increase our values so that WordPress can run better. Okay, and we'll get that going. All right, and just to make sure, yep. Actually, I'm in the wrong file, so hold on. We want to do the global one, so 1 second. So everybody complains about Vim being very difficult. Vim is very easy to get out. All you have to do is hit :Q. If you wrote something, it would be :WQ. If you haven't done anything, Q bang, okay? Because it's a lot simpler. Doing a Control X and all this stuff, to me, it's the same keystrokes like you're doing. So, all right, let's go into here. Okay, and we're going to look for max execution time. So we'll do, and by the way, the search is to me, a lot easier. So max, okay, execution time _, execution time. And we're going to change this, hit enter. We're going to change this now. We're going to press I because we want to do some change. We're going to change that to 300 milliseconds. That's roughly 5 minutes. Okay. And the next thing we're going to look is our memory limit. So we're going to hit escape. We're going to do a search again. We're going to type memory. And we're going to change, hit enter. We're going to change this to 512. Okay. All right. Because like I said, we want to run this smoothly. Anything less than that, it will kind of choke. Next, we want to change our post size because, you know, when you are writing with WordPress, you're actually posting. And see how it has 8 megs? Hold on, let's go to post, not port, post. Enter. I'm going to use my arrow keys down, and I'm going to change this to 128. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to change the upload. Okay. See where it has that upload max size? Oh, let's go back. Upload. We're going to change that to 512. Okay. Now, if you're going to be posting videos and big files, you're probably going to want to set it to something bigger, but you're not going to want to run it on a Banana Pi M4. Okay. All right. Whoa. And this sometimes happens. It's easy to fix. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to get down here on this line, and I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to hold the X key to delete all these other little entries. And we'll let it catch up with this. And if it happens, just hit the escape key, you're good to go. Okay. And actually, and honestly, I should probably hit, something's going on. There we go. Give it a second. Okay. I can see the little Banana Pi over here. It's flashing away. Okay. Oh, and another reason I like them while we're kind of waiting is I love the color syntax. Now, you can do it with Nano, but Vim just does it by default. VI is a pain in the butt to work with. Vim, which is VI improved, is so much better. So if you're going to use the two, trust me, use it. Okay. And then when you really get good at stuff, you can start doing set and awk. Okay. It'll save you so much time. And we're going to pause this just for a second so I can not bore you, and I'm going to get this cleaned up. All right. To save you guys time, what you ought to do is line up your cursor to where you need, and then do Shift capital D, and it'll delete it from that point to the end of the line. Now that we got that saved, we're going to go ahead and, now we fix the line, we're going to save it. So colon, W for write, Q to quit, and then we're going to do system restart PHP 8.2-FPM. Okay, and it's restarted. Right, and we're going to type clear. Okay, now we're almost there. We need to install a database. All right, MySQL is usually preferred, but ever since, you know, Oracle's bottom, you could use the Community Edition, but it's better to use MariaDB. And believe it or not, MySQL is named after Maya, and Marie is named after MariaDB. They're both written by the same gentleman. He's named them after each one is his daughter. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to install that now. And one thing I haven't been doing, so that you guys can see what we're installing, is I haven't been pressing or putting a -y afterwards. Okay, and I'm going to pause this because I need to get a drink, but we'll be right back once this is done. All right, so we have MariaDB installed, so we are now going to enable it so that it's up and running. Okay. And again, the -- now gets it up and running. And then we're going to just do a quick status. And it's up and running. Okay, cool. And this, real quick, let's just take a look at how much memory we're using. Look at that. So we have, and it says I have some services degraded. I'll look at that later. But right now, what I'm really happy about, look at that. I'm only using 300 megs, and I got Nginx running. Okay. I got MariaDB on my Banana Pi M40. Okay. And just to prove it, boom, there's our ports. We're doing awesome. Okay. We're almost done. So next, we need to do a secure installation. Okay. And what this does is there are some things we want to remove and some things we want to add. Okay. So by running this, it runs a script, okay, to set the root password and to remove things that we don't need. So we're going to hit enter, and I'm going to use the Unix sock. Okay. All right. We're going to change the root password, and I'm going to give it a new password. And it didn't match because we're going to remove the anonymous user, because this is, again, we're trying to make this secure. We're going to disable remote login. We're going to move the test database. And we're going to reload the privileges. Okay? And we're good to go there. All right. So now we need to create our database. Okay? So we're going to log in. Hopefully. There we go. And it does use the MySQL command, even though it is MariaDB. So we're going to do a -u for the user and -p so that it asks us for a password. Okay, and we're going to type in our password. And we're going to say create DB database. And we'll call it, just for this, I'm going to call it mobile mobile _ WordPress, because this is going to be our mobile development. Okay, and forgot our little semicolon. Okay, now with that, I'm going to create a user. Okay, and I'm going to paste this here so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. And we're going to, whoops, wrong one. Helps when you copy the right thing out of your notepad. Okay. And I do suggest you use like Notepad++, if you're on Windows, a Notepad if you're on Mac, Mousepad if you're on Linux. The reason being is it's just so useful. Okay. So we're going to grant privileges on our mobile database. Okay. And then the next part is we're going to create a new account, and in my notes, it's going to say WordPress user, but I'm going to actually change this to my login. Okay. Hopefully. I'm not sure why we got the lag going on. Okay, let's clear this up. But we do have a little bit of a lag. And I'm not gonna say it's the Banana Pi, I'm gonna say it's the wireless. Okay. And for this exercise, I'm gonna leave password as password. I'll go update it later. Okay. Because if I put in a password here, people will see it, they'll want to copy it, and they'll want to try to hack me. Because how cool it is to go and hack people when when you think you have information. So we'll do Terrorpup, okay, and we'll go to the end of the line. We'll hit enter, and it should be grant all. Because I have grant all privileges in there twice. Because I don't read. And we still have one. All right, give me a second to figure this out. We'll come right back. All right. So it looks like it didn't like the single quotes around the WordPress database. So I've updated my my notes, but there we go. Okay. And the last thing we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to flush our privileges. Okay, so that the user that we just created, okay, can use it. And all right, and we're good to go. All right, so now we're ready for grabbing WordPress. Okay, so we're going to use wget. And one bad thing about mobile Xterm is when you are using it to do copies and pastes, if you accidentally highlight text, it'll automatically copy it and put it into the buffer. Okay, so we're now going out and we are getting the latest and greatest WordPress. Okay, and now we're going to do an unzip. Okay. And then I should have done a -D and told it, actually, no, let me show you how to do the -D with unzip so it puts in the right place. So first of all, we're going to remove the directory we just created. Okay. And you have to use the R so that it removes everything up underneath there. So we'll do an up arrow. And then we'll do -D var www HTML WordPress. And let me actually, we don't need to do that because it'll create WordPress, but there we go. And now it's putting it up underneath HTML. Okay. All right. Now, let's go into our HTML directory. Okay, we're going to go into WordPress. Okay. And we're going to edit, we're going to copy, then edit. We're going to take our sample config file. Okay. And we're going to take the word sample out. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead boom. Okay. All right. And we're going to change this to point to our database. We're going to call it mobile. Whoops. Got to press the I. There we go. Mobile. WordPress. Terrorpup. And for now, like I said, we'll use password. And I'm going to hit escape and just hit X, 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 X. X in them will delete single characters. And now I will save it, because that should be it. Okay. And then now, the only thing that we need to do is make sure that Nginx can actually run it. And then we'll have to go through and add a config real quick. Okay, we're almost there. Okay. So let's do this now. Take it from my notes. We're going to own it. And www-data is the user and group, and we want that to own it, because if not, Nginx won't be happy. Anytime even Apache, anytime you're using this stuff on a Debian system, you want to use www-data as a user and group so that it can write the files, access the files, and do what it needs to do. The -R tells it to go up underneath everything in that directory and own it. Okay. All right. And the last thing I'm going to do right now is I have a stock config. In fact, you can find this anywhere on the internet. So we're going to go into user Nginx. Okay. And config D, and we'll do, I want to do we'll just do WordPress. Okay. Conf, and then this is the config file. All right, and we'll go over it real quick. So we're only listening to port 80. I'm going to go ahead and call this M40, because I really don't want to have to create a name, but I'm also going to temporarily put the IP as a host name in here too, so I can access it. So M40 192.168.107.204, which is that network we set up a couple years ago so that we can do all our small board development there. Now, when I do start using my phone, okay, I will have to figure out a different way to access it. And more than likely, I'll have to see if I can come up with a static, because it should issue the same IP each time. And then I can just, put it into my personal laptop that IP is the M40. All right. And before we start Nginx, we're going to do Nginx T to test our config. And everything looks good. Trust me, you want to do that, because if not, the configurations are going to, if there's an error in your configurations, it will come out. All right. And restart Nginx. All right. And just do a status. It's up and running. Now I'm going to show you one more thing real quick. SS replace netstat. I'm going to do a plant, okay, which is port listening any, I forgot what the N is, but T is TCP. And there's everything that's running on our Banana Pi 4. And as you guys can see, it shows me where I'm connecting from. So this is good. We're really good. Now, the only other thing that could cause problems later on is it is running IPv6. If you do configurations where you're telling it only, if you do configurations on your network and you turn off IPv6, but you don't update the apps, they could fail. Sometimes you have to go in there and tell it only use IPv4. So just keep that in mind. All right, now we're going to come back to our browser, okay? All right, so I'm now going to access my web browser. I'm using Brave, if you're wondering why it looks so different. And part of the reason is Brave still blocks ads, which is nice, okay? So 204. And hopefully it's not going to try to connect on HTTPS. In fact, let's do this. There we go. All right. It connected. So I'm going to call this, again, mobile dev WordPress. My name. And we'll use password again. We'll do the very standard IT one, password 1. And then I will put my email for recovery into it. And it doesn't like that. So let's try doing this. Password 2025. Boy, it really all right, we'll use this. Okay. No, this is not one of my passwords. I just made this up on the fly because we really want to get this going. Okay, so thank you, WordPress, for making sure we don't install a insecure site. So I got that copied. Okay, and I'm going to add that to my notepad because we will need that to install, okay, or to access it. All right. And then okay. So now it's more or less saying I could save the password up there, but we're going to tell it not to. Just to validate that we can log into it. And we're done with this video because we got it up and running. Okay, we're logging in. And it's taking a second. While it's doing that, we're still, and I'll show this here in a second, but we're still only using around 300 megs according to HTOP, okay, which is fantastic. And by the way, part of the reason it took a while for it to come up and run is the whole fact that it was creating the tables on the fly. Okay, there we go. I'm going to log out. Okay, just because all we wanted to do is get this up and running. And we'll log out. And we're going to remove all of this. There it is. Our generic WordPress running on the Banana Pi M40. And there you go, guys. Like I said, we're still using roughly around 300 megs. So this is phenomenal. I really am liking this. We are using a little bit of swap, but performance-wise, this is nice, okay? So I hope you guys find this tutorial useful, and I hope you see the power that the Banana Pi M40 can give you if you needed something small to deploy. That's going to be it for this video. Until next time, this is Terrorpup wishing you peace.